Hey, this is Mike Turner, and it's November 19th, 2021, and this is the Boise Real Estate Market Update. This is where you come to get the latest and greatest or the craziest market updates in the Boise area. So I'm going to dig into and show you what's going on in the housing market. I know a lot of people are really concerned and worried about where we're headed and where we're already at and all that good stuff. So let's dig in. Okay, so first we're going to start off with what people are buying. So these charts that I'm showing you are from Web Charts. It's a subscription service. Anybody can get these charts. You can just go, search Web Charts and you'll find them. So this chart I'm showing you now is about home sales. Like, what are people buying at what price points? Okay, and so this tells a few stories. Now, the color system is what you want to know is 2021 is the yellow, right? And so what I want to point out to you as for basically the previous 3 years, 2018 through 2020, the majority of home sales in Ada County were below 400,000. You see this 399. You can see that the red, the blue, and this light blue color basically are all super high during that last few years. And then it's all shifted over here to the yellow on these higher numbers. In part, this has happened because we lost inventory on these lower priced homes. There's just not any to buy. Had there been homes priced in this price range, people would have bought them, and they would have bought a lot of them. But as the inventory has been low for a long time here in the Ada County, Boise metro area, this low inventory is at the worst, at the lowest price range, right? So as you go up higher and higher, there's more homes. And that has really been the case for 2021. A lot of the homes that were available were new construction, nicer ones in nicer neighborhoods. So this is what a lot of people bought this year. And so that's kind of step one of what's going on. I want to illustrate this for you so you can see how quickly and how significant this shift has happened. Okay. Next, we want to talk about is how many homes are selling, this year compared to last year. So this chart's a little bit busier, harder to read, but basically it's showing you the monthly sales unit. And so what I want to quickly point out on this particular chart is that I want you to notice the red. The red is 2020. That's last year, and you see we had a banner year in home sales in the Boise metro area, right? So it's especially last summer, it dipped a bit when Corona first started hitting, and we kind of dropped down, and then it came back with a vengeance here, and a bunch of people bought houses. Now the yellow is 2021 again, and you can see that we've kind of leveled off since March. We're kind of in the same amount of homes each month, and this is partly being impacted by how many homes are for sale. Okay. These numbers might have been higher had there been more homes to purchase, but it was a fight all summer long. If you try to get a house this summer or last spring, it was multiple offers, and you lost out more than you got because, for every home that came on, there was 20 people that really wanted to buy it in the first couple days, right? So it made it really tough. So now, but what this means though, as we've gone throughout the year, there's quite a few less homes selling this year. So that is something to pay attention to, and I'll come back to that later. Okay. Next chart. Next chart, we're going to talk about the home prices. Okay, so inventory's been low. I'm going to show you the inventory situation here in a minute. But home prices, right? This is what everyone's talking about. They're so high. If you own a home in the Boise area, congratulations, it's worth more now, right? So I mean, it just shot up so much in 1 year, and I want to show you this. This yellow box here is showing you, in some cases, monthly change percentages, and you're seeing here the purple, line here is showing you year to year date, change, and so you can see how these numbers are in not just double digits, but they're triple, they're 30%, 40%. There's huge changes over these previous years, right? And so, and even from month over month, it just kept going. And yeah, so I've never seen home prices jump this much in a year. I mean, that might have happened once back in 2005. But it was just insane and was all driven by, people. This is a big community, right? There's people here that need to buy houses, and this is what they could afford, and low interest rates help them make it more affordable. And I talk more about that too. But you're just seeing massive year-over-year increases in price. I mean, you're seeing this is average home. Let me show you median home prices in 80 counties. You can see we started the year off at 450, and then we made it into the 500s pretty quickly. And so anyway, I want to point out one other thing with this. So as this like severe low inventory, I'm talking like 100 homes on the market kind of thing, when there should be like 2,500. Let me say that again. In this springtime, we had like around 100 to 200 homes available for sale at one given time, and that number really needed to be closer to 2,000 for our market to function correctly. So that chart just created this huge demand, and the people are just having to fight so hard to get it, and so it just drove up the price. And you can see the most significant change happened in that kind of May time frame, right? Like as spring started coming on, like the demand for housing grows with that, right? So most home sales are kind of that spring, early summer time frame, and there's just no inventory, and so it just forced home prices up quickly. Since then, though, since May, it's been cooling off, and you can kind of see this being reflected a little bit in this chart. Now, it's not super obvious yet, but it's cooling off, and I'm going to come back to that again later on. So it had its most impactful moment in April, May, and now it's just like, okay, settling down. Okay, so next chart, inventory. Okay, so this explains a lot. This is the number of homes for sale. This goes back through 2018 through 2021. Again, yellow is 2021. And you can see in the 2020, we basically, again, hit this really, like this is right here is start of 2020. Then coronavirus basically caused the city to shut down, community to shut down. So inventory grew a little bit because things weren't selling as quickly or easily. And then they opened back up, and it just like slammed it down, right? And it got lower and lower and lower and lower until we started at the beginning of the year. Like, look at this. This is the number of homes for sale in Ada County at one day. And that's just, it's crazy because even some of these are not even available, right? It happened. They would just sell so fast. And this lasted all the way through April. And then finally, it started to go back up. And so this time period basically is reason why we saw such a hockey stick in home prices, okay? And now it's coming back up. Now here's where we're at right now. And a couple of things that I was curious about as we came into this late summer, fall, as I was watching this number tick up, I was curious if it was going to continue to climb. And so far, it's showing like, maybe it will do this normal seasonal dip. So you see this every winter, October, November, December. You see how it dips down? This is normally what happens in our area, our real estate market in the Boise area. Like it dips down in the winter because less people want to buy and less people want to sell during these winter holiday months. Okay, so it's starting to maybe do that. So that November will be interesting, when the November numbers come in and December, to see if it continues to come down. I hope so, because if it continues to go up, we might be talking about a different situation. But let me put some things in more perspective. Let me show you one more inventory chart. So this one, I love showing this one. This is a great chart, again from Web Charts, Jerry Web Publishing. All this data is from the Realtor MLS. And you can see here that this high number over here, this is 2008. This is what kind of broke the back in the Boise real estate market for the last crash, right? Our inventory got so high, so ridiculously high, that it basically just, imploded, okay? And down here, again, yellow is 2021. The red is last year, right? Now this color, whatever you want to call that, teal or whatever, that is 2005. So the reason why this is fun to see this is because 2005 was the last time the Boise housing market hockey sticked in price, right? It just wham, went up quickly. And so, and it was driven by lower inventory. Well, we've been below this kind of previous low for a while, which is why home prices now have just gotten insane, right? Because we just got so low, it was no supply and high demand. This is a normal economic situation. Like it's economics 101, right? So anyway, so this is 2005 here. So you can see that even though we've come up, we're still low. We're not, I put in here, we're not yet near dangerous levels. And that's true because we need to come up significantly for that to change. How far does it need to come up? I'm going to cover that here in a minute. For it to be like, oh my gosh, dangerous, and watch for greater home price reductions. I'm going to show you that. Okay, so next chart. I'm going to show you selling on. So this is sometimes referred to as monthly inventory, but also known as selling ons, where they take the monthly sales and divide them by the number of homes for sale, in a given month. And then this is also seasonally adjusted, so they take the average of the last 12 months, so that it doesn't have so much drastic change from month to month. It's kind of, you can see the trends happening over a longer period. And so what this shows you is goes all the way back to mid 2004 into today, right? And so you can see here where so this number here over here on the left side, you can see that it says 1.8 here is a really low number, and then it drops down, and you see a 1.7. This is when inventory again 2005 got really low, but sales were really high, which drives down the months of inventory, or the selling odds get extraordinarily low. And this is when you see price increases. And that's what happened during 2005 and 2006. And then what happened is our inventory just shot up quickly. I'm going to go over this in a minute. But it shot up to the point, and it kept going up and up and up and up and up until you finally get to 2008 right here. This is 2008. And then it's like at its peak, and then it just kind of hovers there, and then bounces around for a little bit, and then basically falls down for the next 4 or 5 years. And this is what our recession looked like with the last housing crash, right? Where it didn't fall, the home prices didn't fall overnight. It took a while. And then eventually the prices got low enough again where sales started to pick up again. And you can see that demand picked up, and therefore it just drove the inventory down again with the high demand. And it's just kind of stayed over here the last few years until finally you see this in 2021, January here, it just drives all the way like below the chart. Like it's just like there's no inventory, right? And now it's starting to come up again. We're waiting to see if it drops down and do this, or if it continues to climb. Okay. So I wanted to show you that because it's a good illustration, even if you don't fully understand what selling odds means, it's a good illustration of when it's high, home prices will start to fall. When it's low like this, home prices are going to increase. And the further they get to the extreme, the further you'll see in the changes in home prices. Okay. This chart I want to show you was affordability index. So affordability is actually something that's everyone's talking about, right? It's not affordable to buy a house in the Boise market anymore. It's too high. And that's true. It's way too high. It's crazy. But I want to put some things in perspective, because people look at affordability just at home prices, and that's not everything they should be looking at. They should also be looking at the interest rates at the time, because this is what impacts affordability. What your mortgage is going to be. What is the mortgage on a $500,000 house? Is it, $3,000, or is it, $2,000 or $4,000? And like, what is it? And it's all being impacted by interest rates. And so you can see this chart goes back 5 years, and you can see how here this affordability index looks at mortgage interest rates and the median income and in a given area. And so you can kind of see in the home prices. So you can kind of see kind of how people's ability the higher this numbers go, the less affordable it is. So yes, this has gone up. But one thing that I want to point out is that the reason why this number is kind of flat, even though home prices were increasing, because mortgage rates were coming down during this time. And so of course here's home prices screaming up in cost. And this of course did go up, but mortgage rates went down even further. So that's kind of offset some of the cost of home prices going up. Okay, so let me show you another one. Here's affordability over the last 15 years. So this puts things in a little bit more context because I'm going back to 2020, 2005. And you see home prices went up in 2006 and 7, and then, and then started coming back down, and then it's clawed its way back up, and then now it just went silly, right? It was kind of healthy growth and then like ridiculous here lately. But one thing that I want to point out to you is look at this yellow line. This is the affordability index tracking it. And even so, at the worst of the last peak was at 32%. That's where we're at right now. Even though home prices are what? Twice as much, over twice as much, okay? Basically, it costs you the same to buy a house today as it did in 2006, 2007. Isn't that crazy? Because even though, look at the home prices, the average home price was around 250,000 then, and now it's over 500,000, 530, something like that. Interest rates impact all of this, okay? So it's it's one of those things where it's like you have to be paying attention to interest rates. This is how people are still buying houses today, even though home prices are ridiculous. And let me show you this next one because it puts it all in perspective with interest rates, right? So now you can see that during the last peak, interest rates are in like mid sixes, and now they're like in the twos. This is why we can be, twice as expensive, the home prices, but the mortgage cost is the same, right? So pay attention to this because this is a big deal. This is why things have gotten so crazy. It's because interest rates are so low, and how interest rates can, if they change significantly, it can have drastic impact on our housing market. Okay. Because it's kept dropping down during that time, which is why, going back to here, even though we had this, people's ability to purchase has still been good, which is driven a lot of the demand in our market. However, let's talk about what can change or where we're headed, right? Let's talk about that. Like, what is going to happen to the real estate market in the Boise area in 2022? And what are the dangers, right? So obviously home prices is a danger. Affordability is huge. And there's talking about increasing interest rates because inflation's out of control, right? And so they're like, well, one way we're going to slow that down and slow the economy down is with raising up interest rates. So that's an impact of something we're going to have to watch. But another thing we have to watch is new construction. Because if you remember correctly, this new construction can really impact inventory, obviously, right? So there's always going to be people who own a house that need to sell, to move up, to move down, to move away, that kind of stuff. And so there's always going to be that kind of activity. But new construction can really add or, impact the inventory of our real estate market. And we've been in this severely low inventory marketplace for a while, right? Supply has been almost zero, right? Even with new construction added into there, it's like almost nothing. And so we needed, these home builders are out building homes. Even though it seems like they're building everywhere, they needed to be there because there was more people needing to buy homes than there was people to, than there was availability to purchase. But with building costs being so high, they're not building affordable housing. They're building what they can for the price points, for the lot prices and everything else because land values are so high and everything else, everything's gone up in price. So they're building houses for a lot more money now than they were back during the last boom. But interesting enough, with interest rates, it was more expensive to buy a new construction home during the last boom than it is now, by this new construction affordability index. Isn't that interesting? But still, we're still like it's a problem, right? Because here's one thing I want to point out is here's a new construction price, and then it really shot up this year, and this is a lot driven by what the builders are paying for the land. It's driven by the cost of materials have all went up because the short supply of everything due to COVID and everything, right? So it's just that shot up significantly this year. But new construction is something I want to watch because it can have a drastic impact on if people are buying them right away, then we don't have a problem. It keeps the inventory level, supply level of new construction okay. but that can change. And that's what I want to talk about, because this is the one thing I want you to watch in 2022. What's happening with inventory, particularly new construction inventory. Okay? Because this was what killed us the last time we got in trouble in this marketplace. I don't think this is going to happen. It's happening yet, but it's certainly not happening yet, but it could. And I'm going to show you exactly how. So first thing is, watch this. This is new construction pending sales. And this is year over year, so it's just a snapshot between this year and last year. But you see this line coming down here? This is the percent change. You see this yellow? This is 2021. This is pending sales. This is new construction going under contract. And so it's been dropping, bump, 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 and compared to last year. Now, what does this mean? It also peaked, this summer, and then it's been going down. So what does this mean? Well, I don't know yet. I just know that it's going down, and it could continue to go down. Meaning, if less people buy new construction because it's too expensive, then you're going to get less home sales. But if builders keep building them, then it's going to create this excess inventory eventually, right? So I'm watching this because I remember what happened during the last housing crisis we had. And I'm going to show you. So this is the last chart, and I'll stop talking. But this one is the most important, so watch this. Okay, so again, back here in 2004, 2005. Okay, so this blue peak here, this is monthly sales in the county, Ada County. And by the way, I'm talking Ada County this entire time. Canyon County has basically the same thing being mirrored in there. It's just prices are a bit less, but everything for the most part looks the same. So it's just different numbers, but the trends are all the same. But the housing peaked in 2005. Highest number that we had seen in housing in 2005. And the yellow is inventory. So the inventory is here, and that huge demand spike just drove the inventory down. Okay, and then for whatever the reason, I think home prices got so much, and remember, mortgage rates were in the high sixes, 6.7 average mortgage rate. That did happen, right? And that's like still historically low if you go way back, but significantly high for what we're seeing today, right? And so demand started cooling. So it was still decent, but then it just cooled off. So this is 2006. This is 2007. Look how much is down. It's down, almost darn near half from the peak. Okay. And, but inventory just went insane. And what drove all this? Well, a lot of it was new construction. It just kept, everybody was a builder back then. Everybody was getting in the game, and they just kept building and building and building and building. And a lot of people are like, all right, house prices are great. I'm going to put my house on the market. And it's just a flood of inventory of existing homes and new construction. And the builders didn't respond fast enough, right? They should have pulled the reins back sooner. And some did, but most didn't. And, we're all to blame for this. But this was happening, and this was evident. And so this was like a giant warning sign. So, and look how fast it shot up. I mean, look at this. Just insane. And this is what I want to point out. That here we are. I'm going to talk about the now, right? Because it stayed big. And then eventually, and then basically this is about 2008 right here, 2009, 2010. And now home prices have gotten low enough again. Well, now here comes the demand again, right? So demand is starting to pick back up. Interest rates are down a little bit. So affordability is getting easier. And of course, building had stopped. Eventually, 2007, 2008, building did stop. It was almost non-existent, right? So that was a part led to the inventory coming down over these last 3-4 years, and then things started going again, right? And but the demand just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, and that just chewed up our inventory till we got all the way down here at the end. So we see, like, here's the peak of sales. We're talking is 2020. Okay, last peak 2005. Our last peak 2020. Okay. What's going to happen from here? Because what could happen is this. Let me make that sound again. Inventory could do that. I don't think it is, but it could. It could do this. And if it does, I'm going to change a lot of my behavior in real estate and my recommendations and how I consult and tell people what to do and how they should be, monitoring the market. So, so we need to really watch in 2022 is the inventory levels. Now, if it comes up to about 2,000 homes for sale, no big deal. We survived a lot during that time frame, and that was fine. Even like if it even got up to towards 3,000, it's a different market. You're not going to, it's probably going to be really plateaued in price, and might even see some dips, but not a crash. But if it gets over this amount, over 3,000 homes for sale, here we go. Now it's getting really interesting. Now remember, home prices don't drop overnight. Okay, everyone thinks they do, but they don't. Real estate takes a long time because again, this is 2008 right here. Down here is the low point in pricing. It took 4 years to get down to the lowest pricing. So remember that, please. Okay, everyone forgets that. It actually took 5 years. Okay, get my math right. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Okay, that takes a long time for the housing pricing to come down. So if you are thinking about selling your house and you see the market cooling off, yeah, you might want to get underneath some of the competition. And it will come down, but it walks down. So that's something to keep watching, is watch the inventory, because that's going to be your lead indicator of how you should be pricing real estate and those kinds of things, right? And your ability to sell and all kinds of those things. So that's what I want to watch. And new construction is going to play a part in this. But of course, now with home prices being so much, you're going to see more people putting their houses up for market. They're like, all right, I'm going to go move to someplace cheaper. I'm going to cash out and go retire. Good for you. Okay. I mean, it's sad that you're having to leave this community because it's so expensive. But if you just made $500,000 on your house, awesome. Okay. That's awesome. That's why I love real estate, right? Because, you can build wealth with real estate. You can also lose your ass. So you got to be careful. So here we are. And so I'm going to watch an inventory this year. And I do think that, also what plays a part in having inventory roar up to these high levels is demand drops off. I don't actually think demand is going to drop off yet, but time will tell. And so, but we need both things to happen. If demand needs to drop off, and we need an inventory to have to swell for us to have a significantly danger of another crash. However, we're at a point where because pricing got so hockey stick this year, I mean, it's already adjusted down. It's, if you're looking at home sales and you're looking at things that sold in April or May or even June, and you're using that as comparable what your house might be worth, or, but you don't do that because we're lower than that significantly in some cases. Okay. So, the market's cooled off and you got to pay attention to this stuff. Okay. Because it hasn't crashed, but it's not like it's in the freak out mode it was in March, April, May, and June of 2021. Okay. It's getting closer to where it maybe was in 2020, and we'll see where it goes from there. Okay. All right. And it's still high. If you own your house, it's not too late. It's just not in that crazy sweet spot that happened this last spring. And that's good because it needs to cool off. It was too overheated. But if you can still sell your house, market's still healthy, but I'm going to watch this month by month to see how things change. And if it does something like this, I'm going to get really loud because everyone needs to pay attention. I don't know if it will, but until it does this, I'm not panicking. Okay. But we need to pay attention to what the inventory does. Okay, that's it. I'll stop talking. I've been talking for way too long. But if you have questions about the real estate market, I'm Mike Turner. I do have a real estate license and I do help people, but I'm also an investor and I invest in this market. I buy houses and I make them nicer and I sell them and things like that. So I pay a lot. So it forces me to pay really close attention of what's happening. And so this is what I'm seeing. And if you have questions for anything I talked about, reach out. I'm happy to share. Talk soon. Oh, and happy Thanksgiving and Christmas if I don't come back before that. Cheers.